Hello guys, welcome to the channel and welcome to another film review. Tonight we've got a sort of retro sci-fi horror, the elements of horror in the film if you like, classic. We're looking at Peter Cushing film in Invasion Earth 2150 AD. So we're looking at this tonight. In this, Peter Cushing plays Doctor Who. And this is the collector's edition of the year. I'll just show you what's in it. Obviously, it's in a hardback box. It comes with the movies in 4K and in Blu-ray, and with special features. It comes with two posters, one with the original artwork and one with like the new commissioned artwork. So that's the original one. That reminds me of The Exterminator, to be honest. But that's cool. So it comes with two posters. It comes with two books. A collectible mini book, Invasion Earth, which is loads of pictures and stuff like that in it. It comes with another collector's edition booklet. Which is this one, and it's got like again more sort of different photos and essays in there. It has a set of art cards, and it comes with a collectible Doctor Who coin in this sort of little plastic case. So that's the edition. Now this was released a couple of years ago with the other Doctor Who film, Doctor Who and the Daleks, which is this one. So I thought it was about time we try and review them. Now, this could well be blocked with the clips. So if it does get blocked with the clips, I will put it up without the clips, just in case. Now, this is based on, it starts off in London. We're in London. And we see Bernard Cribbins, who, if you know your Doctor Who, he starred in some later ones as well. I think it was when David Tennant was the Doctor. Yeah, Bernard Cribbins starred in some later episodes on a TV series. As you well know, this is based on a BBC television series, but these are the feature film versions of it. And yeah, we've got Bernard Cribbin. He's a police officer. He's patrolling his street while just outside there's going to be like a robbery of a jewelry store, and he gets attacked. And he sort of sees then we see the front of the jewelry shop blowing up, and we see our criminals getting away. So he blows his whistle, chasing them and looking for help, and he sees an old police box. Now they used to be everywhere in Britain in the 50s, 60s, and even in the 70s. I used to still see them about. And he goes into it, but he's entered Doctor Who's TARDIS, and in there is Doctor Who with his companions, the young girl Sarah, and what's her name? I can't remember. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, he faints and collapses, and Doctor Who then takes the TARDIS off, and they go into the future to 2150 just to see what's going on in London then. So they disappear in the TARDIS. And then they explain to Bernard Cribbins that this wasn't a police box. This is like a time machine. And they arrive in 2150. Bernard Cribbins, first of all, doesn't believe it. So he's the first one to step outside and sees that London is a complete wreck. And we see London being almost like loads of sort of demolition, sort of demolished old buildings and stuff like that. And he's going, oh my God, it's changed. And he goes, well, I told you it was. And we have a look around, and this is where it's so charming, this sort of film, because you see some of the fly posters on the wall. It's Sugar Puffs from the 1960s. This film was made in 1966, I believe, and it's still got the 1960s posters up and stuff like that. And it's just like, It's not. It's supposed to be in the future, but they haven't changed anything really. When there's one part when the Doctor and Bernard Cribbins are looking around this warehouse, you see these boxes of really old toys in it, really old 1960s toys. And they're thinking, what's going on? Anyway, yeah, they go walking about, having a little search about in this warehouse, and they come across this sort of soldier looking like this guy in the poster, like our exterminator, and he is a sort of like a controlled soldier being controlled by our enemy of the film. And as we move through the warehouse outside, there's like the girls are sort of like seeing this flying saucer going above the sky, and when you look at it, you can see the strings. You can see the strings. It's so cool, and yeah, it's flying by, and then some random guy turns up and tells the girl, because she's looking for the little girl who's gone missing, our Doctor Who's companion, and some guy turns up and says, "Oh, if you want to see the girl, know where she is." So he goes with her, and they're going down to the underground, um, out of the way. And then it's not long into this where the Doctor and Bernard Cribbins come back and see that the girls are missing. But then these two soldiers are behind them with their guns, so they start running away from them, towards the river. And sure enough, out the river we get our first sight of a Dalek, and out he comes. So, and then they get captured, and they are taken away. And underground, in the underground, there's like a human being underground, sort of like people down there, sort of like a gang, and they're obviously they're in revolt to whatever's happening above ground, because obviously the Earth has been invaded and taken over by Daleks. And so they've got their little spaceships, and they're capturing human beings, and they're transforming them with their brains into becoming these sort of hypnotized, brainwashed soldiers. And so this is what's going to happen to our Doctor, or is it? Are the Daleks going to take over the world completely, or is Doctor Who and his merry men going to save the day? You know, we've got all these wonderful sort of like revolutionary people in there. Are they going to save the day? You need to watch it and find out. It's a masterpiece of British cinema. When I watch this, I think to myself, there's so many things. There's little bits of like, you know, War of the Worlds. There's very obviously must be some sort of influence in there. But when I look at it now, when we're in the Dalek spaceship, there is some scenes that really remind me of Star Wars, A New Hope, especially when the soldiers are marching through the corridors, and you've got one scene where Doctor Who's assistant is sort of like hiding between pillars, just like in Doctor Who film. And you've got, I mean, like Star Wars film, sorry, and you've got some of these humans dressed up as like these soldiers, but like they would just happen in Star Wars, dressed up as stormtroopers. You've got all these sort of things, so there must be some influence going on there with the early Star Wars films, with this film. But this is just classic. I mean, I remember when I first saw this film at Ashtree School in Stevenage, because every Thursday they used to have a cinema club this was at a junior school, and I was at junior school when I was about sort of like 8, 9, 10, that sort of age. They would have a cinema club where you'd pay 50p or 25p, and you'd go along and you pay 50p for your orange juice and your crisps or whatever, and they used to show a movie. There's so many films that I got introduced to at this movie club, and this is one of them. They showed that there, and it was, wow, this was must be one of my first loves in the sci-fi sort of genre, because I saw this before Star Wars and before things like that. You know, I was really young, and I'm sure my sister was there as well, and some of my friends, Paul, were there, and things like this, and we went to this, and it just blew my mind. and that was it. I was infatuated with Daleks and Doctor Who, and not Doctor Who as such, because when I used to watch them on the television, I always, it was John Pertwee was the Doctor then when I was young, and I was always like this every sort of like storyline, hoping it was going to be Daleks, but it weren't. But then again, we got introduced to other core villains like the Cybermen and things like that. But I was always hoping for the Daleks, and so occasionally you'd get a Dalek story, which was great. And then Tom Baker came in, and I liked the Tom Baker ones. And then as I got older, I sort of left the Doctor Who thing behind. But these films have always stayed with me. I've always loved them because of that sort of real part of my youth. You know, it's one of the things that made me really appreciate sci-fi. Some of my friends were into sci-fi comics and things like that. See, at that age, I wasn't into it. I was just getting into music. You know, I was starting to really get into music when I was that age. And I was liking movies. I used to watch a few horrors occasionally with my dad, things like the Hammer films and like that, and I used to like them. But I was sort of like really, really, really into Laurel and Hardy then, when it comes to movies and stuff like that. So that was my go-to thing. But when I saw this, I started to really love sci-fi, and it was just fantastic. And then obviously Star Wars come along and just blew everything out of the water. But yeah, this is an essential watch. It's a 10 out of 10. The pluses of this edition, the 4K looks wonderful. It looks really, really cool. It still looks 60s. Like I said, it's so funny because they've tried to say it's in 2150, but everything in there is so 60s, apart from all the rubble and stuff like that. But it just, that adds to it. They're examining one of the radios on the on the helmet of these soldiers, and they open it, and it's like a really ancient old radio parts in it, and he goes, so modern. It's just not modern or anything. It's just so cool though, and I love things like that because it's of its time, and although it's aged, it stands up well for its charm and its wonderfulness, and it's sort of like creativity is the word I'm looking for. These dustbin-like villains running around, or not running around, wheeling around, spraying CO2 gas fire extinguishers as killer weapons. It's just amazing, and it's just so, the imagination that's gone into it's fantastic. Peter Cushing as the Doctor was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. He didn't do any others. I think he just did these two films. He does stuff like that, like the BBC. He did a short series of Sherlock Holmes films as Sherlock Holmes, and they were wonderful too. They're available on DVD, and I do want to pick them up at some point. But yeah, absolutely wonderful. And to revisit it today has been really cool. Absolutely loved it. Really cool. It's definitely worth a pick up if you want. You don't have to get this, but I think it's only available as this or as a steelbook, if the 4K. But they are available on Blu-ray. A little bit older editions, but they're still available on Blu-ray. And I think you can probably pick them up for, I'd say, between £10 and £20 a piece in CEX. So if you look around, you might be able to pick them up. So, I mean, they released them both as these two sets. And so I thought we're going to look at that one today because this is the one I remember most. This one I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy it as more. This was before. Because this one stars Peter Cushing and Roy Castle. This one was before this one. And the story on this one was a little bit more different, a bit more straightforward, sort of Dalek, where they go to the Dalek planet. But this is here on Earth, and the Daleks have invaded Earth, so that's really, really cool. Cheers, guys.